The Hughes H-4 Hercules is a prototype heavy transport aircraft designed and built by the Hughes Aircraft Company. Intended as a transatlantic transport for use during World War II, it was not completed in time to be of use. The aircraft made only one brief flight on November 2, 1947, and the project never advanced beyond the single example produced. Built from wood because of wartime restrictions on the use of aluminum and concerns about weight, its critics nicknamed it the Spruce Goose, despite it being made almost entirely of birch rather than spruce. The Hercules is the largest flying boat ever built and has the largest wingspan of any aircraft in history. It is on display, and remains in good condition at the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum in McMinnville, Oregon, USA. Design and development. In 1942 the U.S. War Department faced the need to transport war material and personnel to Britain. Allied shipping in the Atlantic Ocean was suffering heavy losses to German U-boats, so a requirement was issued for an aircraft that could cross the Atlantic with a large payload. Due to wartime priorities, the design was further constrained in that the aircraft could not be made of strategic materials. The aircraft was the brainchild of Henry J. Kaiser, a leading Liberty shipbuilder. He teamed with aircraft designer Howard Hughes to create what would become the largest aircraft built at that time. It was designed to be capable of carrying 750 fully equipped troops or two 30-ton M4 Sherman tanks. Its fully loaded cargo capacity was 150,000 pounds. The original designation HK-1 reflected the Hughes and Kaiser collaboration. The HK-1 contract was issued in 1942 as a development contract and called for 3 aircraft to be constructed under a 2-year deadline to be available for the war effort. 7 configurations were considered, including twin-hull and single-hull designs with combinations of 4, 6, and 8 wing-mounted engines. The final design chosen was a behemoth, eclipsing any large transport then built. It would be built mostly of wood to conserve metal. Hence the Spruce Goose moniker tagged on the aircraft by the media. It was also referred to as the Flying Lumber Yard by critics. Hughes himself detested the nickname Spruce Goose. While Kaiser had originated the flying cargo ship concept, he did not have an aeronautical background and deferred to Hughes and his designer, Glenn O'Dekig. Development dragged on, which frustrated Kaiser, who blamed delays partly on restrictions placed for the acquisition of strategic materials such as aluminum, but also placed part of the blame on Hughes' insistence on perfection. Although construction of the first HK-1 took place 16 months after the receipt of the development contract, Kaiser withdrew from the project. Hughes continued the program on his own under the designation H-4 Hercules, signing a new government contract that now limited production to 1 example. Work proceeded slowly, with the result that the H-4 was not completed until well after the war was over. It was built by the Hughes Aircraft Company at Hughes Airport, location of present-day Playa Vista, Los Angeles, California, employing the plywood and resin Duramold process, a form of composite technology, for the laminated wood construction, which was considered a technological tour de force. The specialized wood veneer was made by Rodis Manufacturing in Marshfield, Wisconsin. Hamilton Rodis had teams of young women ironing the strong birchwood veneer before shipping to California. The airplane was shipped on streets to Pier E in Long Beach, California, by a company specializing in house moving. It was moved in 3 large sections consisting of the fuselage and each wing, and a 4th smaller shipment containing the tail assembly parts and other smaller assemblies. After final assembly, a hangar was erected around the flying boat with a ramp to launch the H-4 into the harbor. Howard Hughes was called to testify before the Senate War Investigating Committee in 1947 over the use of government funds for the aircraft. During a Senate hearing on August 6, 1947, Hughes said, "The Hercules was a monumental undertaking. It is the largest aircraft ever built. It is over 5 stories tall with a wingspan longer than a football field. That's more than a city block. Now, I put the sweat of my life into this thing. I have my reputation all rolled up in it, and I have stated several times that if it's a failure, I'll probably leave this country and never come back. And I mean it." Operational history. During a break in the Senate hearings, Hughes returned to California to run taxi tests on the H-4. On November 2, 1947, the taxi tests began with Hughes at the controls. His crew included Dave Grant as co-pilot, 2 flight engineers, Don Smith and Joe Petrali, 16 mechanics, and 2 other flight crew. In addition, the H-4 carried 7 invited guests from the press corps and an additional 7 industry representatives. 36 were on board. After the first 2 taxi runs, 4 reporters left to file stories, but the remaining press stayed for the final test run of the day. After picking up speed on the channel facing Cabrillo Beach, the Hercules lifted off, remaining airborne at 70 ft off the water at a speed of 135 miles per hour for around a mile. At this altitude, the aircraft still experienced ground effect. Having proven to his detractors that Hughes' masterpiece was flight-worthy, thus vindicating the use of government funds, the Spruce Goose never flew again. Its lifting capacity and ceiling were never tested. A full-time crew of 300 workers, all sworn to secrecy, maintained the aircraft in flying condition in a climate-controlled hangar. The crew was reduced to 50 workers in 1962, and then disbanded after Hughes' death in 1976. Display. In 1980, the Hercules was acquired by the Aero Club of Southern California, which put the aircraft on display in a large dome adjacent to the Queen Mary exhibit in Long Beach, California. In 1988, the Walt Disney Company acquired both attractions and the associated real estate. Disney informed the Aero Club of Southern California that it no longer wished to display the Hercules after its highly ambitious Port Disney was scrapped. After a long search for a suitable host, the Aero Club of Southern California arranged for the Hughes flying boat to be given to Evergreen Aviation Museum in exchange for payments and a percentage of the museum's profits. The aircraft was transported by barge, train, and truck to its current home in McMinnville, Oregon, southwest of Portland, where it was reassembled by Contractors Cargo Company and is currently on display. The aircraft arrived in McMinnville on February 27, 1993, after a 138-day, 1,055-mile trip from Long Beach. The dome is now used by Carnival Cruise Lines as its Long Beach terminal. By the mid-1990s, the former Hughes aircraft hangars at Hughes Airport, including the one that held the Hercules, were converted into sound stages. Scenes from movies such as Titanic, What Women Want and End of Days have been filmed in the 315,000-square-foot aircraft hangar where Howard Hughes created the flying boat. The hangar will be preserved as a structure eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Buildings in what is today the large light industry and housing development in the Playa Vista neighborhood of Los Angeles. Specifications. Performance specifications are projected. General characteristics: crew, 3, length, 218 FTA 8 in, wingspan, 320 FTA 11 in, height, 79 FTA 4 in, fuselage height, 30 ft, empty weight, 250,000 pounds, loaded weight, 400,000 lb, power plant, ATA, Pratt & Whitney R4360 WASP major radial engines, 3,000 HP each, propellers, 4-bladed Hamilton standard, prop, 1 per engine, propeller diameter, 17 FTA 2 in. Performance, cruise speed, 250 mph, range, 3,000 mi, service ceiling, 20,900 ft, notable appearances in media. See also, ground effect vehicle, aircraft of comparable role, configuration and era, Martin JRM Mars, Blochmann Voss BV238, Boeing Pelican, Dornier Duex Saunders Roe Princess, related lists, list of large aircraft, references, notes. Citations. Bibliography. External links, Evergreen Aviation Museum, McMinnville, Oregon, home of the Spruce Goose, Tomorrow with Tom Snyder show on the Spruce Goose from 1979, Spruce Goose, Where Is It Now? A history of the aircraft following Hughes' death, world's largest airplane takes to the road, Popular Science, August 1946, look inside the world's largest plane, Popular Science, September 1945, 200 tons and it flies. Article January 1948 Popular Mechanics, Howard Hughes and the Spruce Goose, slideshow by Life magazine, a film clip cruiser bow ripped off by typhoon, July 23, 1945 is available for free download at the Internet Archive. More